at 8:35. Kathy, can you do a real quick roll call, please?
Sauger.
Here.
Wagner. Hendricks. Campbell. Kunkel. Shorten.
Here.
Altoff.
Here. Thank you very much. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. I apologize. It's kind of winter to spring and everybody has a cold or the flu or something. So we're a little short this morning. But I think to honor your time and our time, we'll go ahead and get started. We have some interviews where there is one individual interviewing or two individuals and that many openings. So I don't think we're going to step out. So our first interview is Pat Hughes this morning. I know, Pat, I'm smiling at you. Do you want to come up here, please? And Pat is interviewing for Fox River Grove. There is one opening. Pat, I know that you've served on the Fox River Grove department for a few terms now. Want to introduce Brian? Do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Brian Sauger.
Morning, Brian.
SC.
Mike Short. And Mike.
Chairwoman Pamela Altoff, and I cover District 6, which is kind of up in that wonderful McHenry, Spring Grove, Ringwood, Johnsburg area of the county. Brian's more Woodstock, Wonder Lake. Michael covers portions of Nunde Township, Crystal Lake area.
Okay.
So just so you know who you're talking to. So why don't you start by telling us some things about yourself, and again, you've interviewed a couple times. Tell us where Fox River Grove is kind of in their process and things that you've accomplished since the last time we've seen you.
Sure. So again, Pat Hughes. I live in Fox River Grove. I've been on the fire district for about 8 years now. Seeing the process go through with budgets, COVID, and people now is probably our biggest challenge. We're a small fire district, so we're challenged like a lot of the small fire districts in McHenry County just with budgets and how we manage that. So in a good way, we've managed our budgets, kept even, which is awesome. In a bad way, we're struggling with people like I'm sure a lot of districts are nowadays. Cost, inflation, trying to compete with other fire districts with keeping our firefighters is probably our biggest challenge moving forward for the next 3 years. My background is I work for Motorola Solutions, so I have a lot of technical background in the public safety industry, so I bring that to the fire district. When you're involved in the 911 industry professionally, I can bring it to this side too. I think it helps everybody. Any
questions for Pat? Brian?
You mentioned, like everybody else, personnel is part of the issue. Can you tell me, is your unit full-time or is it part-time, or what is your strategy?
Yeah, it's full-time.
And how many employees?
We have full-time, so we have about 25 full-time.
Okay.
Struggling to keep that. We've raised our salaries significantly, 30-40%. It hasn't made a big dent, as righteously so. Some of our firefighters go to Schaumburg, Lake Zurich. A lot of other getting significant raises we just can't compete with.
And do you all participate in outside programs to provide your training and that? What other programs do you use?
Training to recruit or training just to train our own firefighters?
Yes.
Yeah, so good question. So training, we do most of it internally, partnering with Carrie. We do a lot of in-house training every Tuesday night. So that's our in-house training. Reach out networks is something we're trying to do, partner with our local high school, trying to bring in the recruits. That's kind of our market, is to get the entry-level firefighter, train them and keep them as long as we can. And if they decide to stay in the career or go to a bigger place, we understand that. We're not going to probably keep them for life when they can do better from somewhere else.
So obviously, this is something that's going on everywhere. I mean, frankly, it's not just within the fire protection, but some police departments and everything else. So what's the one thing that you think that you can do, you all, to track and keep, I guess?
Yeah. That's a challenge. I would say number one, culture. We try to keep it a fun district, a place that we know that they're at the entry level, that they can grow, can be trained, and we understand that we probably won't keep them a lifetime there. So if we can recruit that, that's kind of our angle. We're a small district, so they can get involved, do a lot of things within our district.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Just to build on that, Pat, are you also working with the college as well? They have the okay.
Chief Carrier works at McHenry County College to train, recruit, try to get people in.
Michael, any questions?
Yeah, I'm assuming this is going to be a lifetime challenge. I mean, I would assume nothing new as far as getting new people in, and then, like I said, Schaumburg, some of the other municipalities closer to Cook County, being able to pay better and draw people out.
It's a bigger challenge now. We used to have 20, 30 applicants.
Yeah.
You get 1 or 2 now.
The
The pool is much smaller. The talent may be much smaller. The skill sets may be much smaller. So the desire of people to get into, you mentioned it, public safety, police and fire now is much less. Competing against remote work. I work for Motorola. You pay your employees 20, 30 grand more a year, and they can work at home 2 days a week. You can't do that in the fire industry. That's a tough
It is.
competition to anybody who wants to get into public safety.
an age range that folks have to be in order to qualify for those positions is capped at probably start 35 years old.
35?
Well, like the top end if someone wanted to start into back in the public safety career.
We haven't had anybody that age come in. We'll take them. We're open to any suggestions on that type of career-wise people, you know. Part-timers, people from other fire districts are welcome. That's been a challenge too with unions and stuff like that, slowing that process down too. Kind of a double-edged sword with COVID, inflation, and unions to compete.
So you are unionized?
No.
You're not? Okay. And can you tell me what your basic district financial position is whether it's steady and secure growing? Do you think it's getting the support that you need locally in the district? What's the kind of status?
Yeah, no, so we run about $1.5 million budget. The problem we have is percentage. We've gone from 70 to now almost 80% of our budget now is salaries. That's a problem long-term when you want to replace equipment, as you can imagine. Right. We've raised our base salary from 45 to the low 60s, which is great for our firefighters. It hasn't helped us keep our firefighters. So we've significantly raised costs and still have the same problem.
Do you have any joint purchasing agreements for equipment like that? Do you work with that? States?
Some, not a lot though. We don't purchase a lot of the small fire district. Bought 1 ambulance this year and we used a joint district
The program.
program, which
Mhm.
worked out great.
Thank you, Pat.
Yep.
I want to say thank you also for working on the 911 board and bringing your expertise to that area too. It's appreciated. My big concern, and I just throw it out there and everyone's going to get it, is making sure that there are interested parties, younger interested parties in serving actually on the board. I know every single time that we have people who serve and serve beautifully, dedicated, committed, really engaged, but once they go, I don't see a bench. I don't see anybody else coming in, and that has grave concern to me, is that we lose all of that expertise and knowledge and then bring in new people that don't have the mentoring that they need in that particular capacity. So I just ask that you guys pay a little bit of attention and see if there isn't, something that you can do to encourage people to get engaged so that as people roll off the board, which they ultimately should do,
Sure.
there's somebody who has that knowledge and the expertise that can train the next guy that comes on.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Otherwise, thank you. I mean, for your service on both ends of that, familiar with your dedication and very appreciative on behalf of everyone here.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
All right.
Well, you're welcome to stay, but there's one position, and we'll be deliberating, and there's one applicant, so I think you probably,
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pat. Appreciate your time.
We need more of these.
Again, thank you very much for all you do. Appreciate the time. Okay, next on our docket is Kurt Rodewald. Did I say? I always do that. I butcher it. You can. Thank you
That's
very,
you.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Kurt is interviewing for one of the 2 vacancies on the McHenry Township Fire Protection District. Same process, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and the years that you've serviced. I believe this would be your third term as well, sir?
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I currently a resident of Ringwood. I'm 47 years old, so I'm on the younger end of the trustee spectrum. This will be entering my 3rd term, if appointed. I've been in the fire service for 28 years. Live in Ringwood with my wife and young son. He's 13, goes to Johnsburg Junior High School. And we're active in our community through the school. And this was something else I could give back to the fire service. As I said, I've been in the fire service 20 years. I'm a career lieutenant on Mundelein Fire Department. And I've recently gone back to help out part-time with another fire district, Wonder Lake. We were going through some challenges with employees, so I went back there. I hold the position of battalion chief there, and just always looking to give back. McHenry Township Fire District is growing by leaps and bounds. We ran just under 7,600 calls last year. That puts us as the busiest fire district in McHenry County. We occupy 5 stations now. We're getting ready to start the process of a 6th station across the street from Northwestern McHenry Hospital, right on 31. I'll reiterate the statements made by the trustee from Fox River Grove. Personnel has been our biggest challenge. Within the last few years, there's been a steady decline in paramedics, partly by some changes made downstate. Illinois Department of Public Health changed some of the requirements for paramedics. They've gone to the national paramedic program, which created some challenges going through getting people certified in the state of Illinois. So it really slowed down the process, which really drastically cut down the number of paramedics that are in the service. That is starting to rebound a little bit, but COVID definitely played a role in this. There's not many people that really want to go out and be exposed to what we're exposed of today, and now we've got a measles problem that's starting to emerge. So I'm afraid that's just going to continue to scare some people away. Back when I entered the fire service, people all came from the trades. They would come in and work their part-time shifts at the fire department, and they were all in a different trade. Now they're much more technical. They don't really want to go and work and get dirty. They seem to want those stay-at-home jobs. So trying to find a way to make the fire service and law enforcement facing the same challenge. Trying to make those jobs attractive again is definitely a challenge.
And when you were talking about COVID and measles, that's, again, first responders being exposed immediately to whatever that crisis is. I mean, besides fire and emergency, it's to all of those other possible contaminants.
We're the first line of response. So we're the ones that get called when they're sick at home and we take them to the hospital. So they haven't been diagnosed by a doctor yet, so our personnel are being exposed to whatever those pathogens may be that we don't even know yet until they get to the hospital and where they can run a diagnostic testing. So our personnel prepare the best they can. We're in the proper personal protective equipment, but there's still that unknown. We can't prepare for everything, unfortunately.
Questions, Brian, please?
Full-time employees?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Full-time employees?
We have 48 full-time employees
48.
from the chief on down.
And you have part-time?
Yes, sir. We have 55 part-time personnel.
Okay.
We've been steadily losing part-time personnel. There's just not those people wanting to come up and replace. Recently, we've had quite a few members with over 30 years retire.
I was amazed at that. I mean, you look at some of these folks that are retiring and they look like they're 24.
Fire service is good for the soul.
And it keeps people active, and we preach physical fitness, and that keeps keeps them looking younger and keeps them fit. But unfortunately, the stress of the job, both mentally and at many times physically, it does take a toll on your body at times.
Apparently, the district has a pretty solid financial footing. You're building a new station right now. That
Correct.
seems positive, and so the release for it must be.
Yeah, we are also approaching that 80% of our budget with salary. In order to recruit and retain our personnel, we've had to give some pay increases to keep them comparable and competitive with all the other fire districts.
And the budget is,
Still solid.
but I mean, amount.
How big?
13 forever.
And I didn't quite understand, so if you can clarify for me, the challenge that existed in EMTs with regards to the national certification and the state certification.
So Illinois used to do its own paramedic program,
Right.
with its own test, and your paramedic license was only good in Illinois.
Okay.
So nationally, everybody's trying to pick up on the national paramedic program, which is once you get your paramedic license, you can go. It helps us, bring people south of the Wisconsin border. Wisconsin's a national state. So we can bring those paramedics into Illinois with a much easier transition. Unfortunately, that transition in the curriculum did slow everything down in the state.
And I would presume that the shortage of potential candidates that exist here locally in Illinois is also a broader issue on a national scale.
Correct. Nationally, the number of people, especially part-time or volunteers, are drastically down.
Oops.
It's a nationwide problem. People are just, more hesitant to get into this job field, whether it's on a full-time or on a part-time basis. So one of the things we're doing we're in the process of doing our 5-year strategic plan, and one of the things that we've identified is starting an Explorer program, and that's a cadet program where we can start picking up individuals at the age of 14 in the high schools, and they train with us, they learn the job, we get them excited about it, and they learn all about that it is a very successful career option or part-time option if they choose. And when they turn 18, they come out of that Explorer program. Many of the districts around will actually bring them on as a part-time firefighter at the age 18. And they can get their EMT license, they can start some of that formal training while they're still in high school.
It's an interesting challenge, and obviously something that locally and nationally we need to figure out, because I'm sure in some areas the challenge is that if they're not dealt with, if you don't have someone to show up when you have an emergency situation, that's okay.
We're going to talk about that. Anything else? I can only say thank you. I think what you guys are doing in McHenry Township is phenomenal. I'm going to ask Alan some additional questions too, but thank you very much. Obviously, 2 people, 2 openings. We'll deliberate after we conclude the interviews. You're welcome to stay if you'd like. Otherwise, have a great day. And thank you very much for being here this morning. Mr. Miller, President Miller. Alan Miller has been the president of McHenry Township Fire Protection Board for
46 years
very
now.
long time. I'll end my statements with the same thing I said to Pat. Again, 2 vacancies, 2 interviews. We'll start with the same. Tell us a little bit again about history, where you are. I'm going to ask a couple things. One, talk a little bit about how you're rolling the strategic plan into the report that you're going to file with the county, the decentennial report. Talk a little bit about how you're negotiating with IDOT on Route 31 as the new fire station is actually going to be located where they're widening Route 31. And then also talk about the fact that this year too, as you do every year, you have the annual recognition dinner where you invite all the county board members to come and see what's going on. And that Chairman Bueller actually did attend this past year. So, Mr. Miller.
Okay. I was born and raised in McHenry, 78 years old. I've been on a trustee for 36 years and the president for the last 26. As Pam said, we're in the process of, we have the architect and the civil engineer. They're working on the plans for Station 6. We have the funds to build the station, but we're working with IDOT to tie it in with the highway construction to save us some money on redoing the intersection. The problem with this station is people. As everybody said, personnel is a major problem. And for us to staff that station is going to cost us an additional $1.2 million in salary to staff that station. The only way we're going to do it is have to have a referendum eventually. Financially, our district is in great shape.
And your standard has always been is you don't build unless you have the money to build.
We have the money to build the station set aside. We've been building it up over the years because we knew the district was growing. We don't borrow money. If we can't pay for it, we don't have it. We have the best equipment in the district, in the county, best people. We just did a 4-year paid plan, so our part-time and our full-time people know what their salaries are going to be for the next 4 years to help maybe maintain and retain them.
Maybe you want to introduce our fire chief.
Our fire chief, Rudy Hurst, is in the back. He's been the chief
Rudy,
now for, I don't know, 6, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. Time flies.
And can I ask too, I mean, we talk about that, you've got your stations strategically placed within your fire district area. What's the average response time to a call?
Just a shade over 5 minutes. And we'd like to, Kurt said we did 7,500 calls last year. And we cover 56 square miles. We got a big district. And 55,000 people we take care of.
And not only is Kurt actually helping, but I understand that the district is actually helping Wonder Lake too.
Oh yes, we've been
they've been going through.
The number of calls has gone down recently, but for a while there we were doing 30 calls in Wonder Lake's district to help them out because they were so short of people. So we try to help our neighbors.
Michael, you want to go first this time? Any questions for Mr. Miller?
I don't. I kind of already hashed through. I mean, obviously, the biggest concern, micro and macro scale, is that lack of personnel, team personnel. I do thank you for your service. That's quite a stretch, and obviously, a lot that's been built in McHenry Township.
When I first got on, we did 1,900 calls with 3 stations, and we only had 3 people on shift for 12 hours. Now we've got 5 stations, 24 hours a day, 365. So it's been a big change.
Yeah.
And to Brian's previous question, much training, much training.
But yeah, we pride ourselves in the company for the training programs that we have. I think we were the best in the state. Unfortunately, we train the people, they come with us, we train them, and then they get hired someplace else for more money and more time off. We've had a tremendous turnover in the last 4 years. But we keep finding them, we keep hiring them and training them.
Any questions, Brian?
Yes, your employees are organized?
No,
No.
we're non-union so far.
Okay. And you expect that to continue?
Well, we hope so. We hope that if we treat them right, that they won't go to a union.
And I apologize for telling you this up front, but I'm going to have a hard time supporting you, Alan, because you said that McHenry Township Fire Protection is the best in the county.
And where do you live, Brian?
I live in Woodstock.
Well, it's my personal opinion.
Past mayor
Your
of the city
opinion.
of Woodstock, and you know, I mean,
I think friendly competition is very, very welcome, but let's face the facts. I mean, you're in the city of Woodstock right now, so, you know, I'm kidding now. I appreciate your long tenure and your leadership. It's been, obviously, it's been well received by employees. It's been well received by the district at large in order for you to be able to be in the financial position that you all find yourselves. I concur with my colleagues. You know, one of our biggest challenges in public safety overall is just attracting and retaining employees. And I think that that's going to continue in the long term. That's not going to be an easy fix.
No,
at
it's not going to change.
So I'm concerned across the board in that regard. And I appreciate the cadet program. It works well in the city of Woodstock. I trust that you're going to find that it's going to work well in McHenry as well. That's the reason Woodstock's better, because we already have a cadet program. What have you all been doing over there? But anyway, no, I commend you all. McHenry and Woodstock are great partners, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I too, I'll close and say, you know, my concern is not only just getting the employees, but gaining interest for people to serve on the board. We fortunately last time had several applicants who were interested in service. I would look at all of you and ask that you encourage that kind of engagement, as many other people will slide off, and we're going to lose that kind of that long history and experience and stories about why we did what we did and why we located. So you know, again, I'm just concerned that, you know, one day there will only be, again, very few people who are interested in providing that volunteer service.
As you know, our board is, three of us are getting up there a little bit in age.
Just a little, just
And
a
we're
little.
still active.
Understand, but again, I'm just saying, you know, maybe that'll help us too in finding younger people to serve, you know, in the actual capacity, so. But I do thank you. I think McHenry does a phenomenal job. I will note for all of you that I hear from them all the time. You know, as a local representative, and even prior to that, I am so much more engaged, I think, in what they're doing and decisions that are making. So I would encourage you to reach out to, I know you do too, Brian, but I appreciate that more than I could possibly tell you. So thank you. Any questions for us from you?
Not really.
Okay,
no.
great, thank you. Again, deliberation today, you can stay, I'm sure you don't want to, but we'll let you know. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Amy?
The chief is here. I guess we should ask him if he wants us to dump these guys.
What do you think, Brody? Do you want us to dump these guys or what?
Be honest with them.
I have to tell you, I'd have to abstain because I actually know Kurt's dad and he would not be happy with me.
We are very fortunate. We have a very cohesive board, very supportive of the organization. And I'm not saying that just because I'm sitting next to two of my bosses, but we have a great department in McHenry Township. And I'm also a little prejudiced. I do believe that we are the best around. Woodstock is also very good, and we work closely.
It was acceptable. Thanks.
So thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Is Amy here? I haven't seen her either. I didn't come in. Thanks, Scott. Amy, here she is, waiting in the hallway. Probably like she was told to do.
I don't tell them. I remember from last.
Hey, Amy, you're on the spot right now.
Right over there.
You were not in the room, Amy, so I'm going to start by saying thank you very much for being here this morning. I remember we interviewed you not long ago for the position of Harvard. We have with us this morning on the committee Brian Sager. Brian, you want to introduce yourself, please?
I'm the representative on the county board from District 7, Woodstock, Wonder Lake, so Bull Valley. That's right.
Thank you.
Mike Shorten, District 4, which covers parts of Cary, parts of Crystal Lake, parts of Woodstock / Bull Valley.
And I'm Chairwoman Pamela Altoff, and I cover the northeastern section of the county, McHenry, Ringwood, Johnsburg, Spring Grove, up in that area. And we have met previously, so thank you. What we're doing is starting by having you tell us a little bit about yourself. I apologize, we're not at full staff for committee, but we are expecting one more person so we can take action today. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on in Harvard and where you've gone from the last time I saw you to where you are today. That's going to be real important for me.
Okay. So let's see, name's Amy Crane, lived in Harvard for over 20 years. Can't remember, 2025, something like that. I do have a background. I am the EMS system coordinator at Sherman, and I have worked in the pre-hospital setting along with the hospital setting as far as what my background and kind of how I ended up being on the board, which is when I was approached actually by community members when those openings came available a couple of years ago. Where we're at today, we have made some progress, slow, sure, but steady. I will say the trustees as a whole, we're very much, we work very well together. I feel like we're all on the same page and we're definitely moving forward. As I'm sure you guys are aware, we do have some financial challenges. The referendum didn't pass, but I think when you kind of look at the voting split, there's definitely some optimism there maybe for the next time around. You need to do a lot more education of why. You know, it's been a really long time since we've had a referendum. 20, 30, maybe 40 years ago. It's been a really long time. We do have an interim chief. Chief Kimmel from Marengo's been helping us out. We did put a deputy chief in place, Don Carlson. They are really working on getting the department as a whole, just everybody kind of having just some certain standards, things like that, without having a chief in place for a while. We've cleaned up the website. We actually have legal counsel that now also comes to our trustees meetings every month, where before we did not have that. We just had some counsel available if we needed it, but they weren't routinely involved. Those are probably the biggest highlights.
And I am overly appreciative. If you'll recall, last time you were here, we talked about some of the significant challenges that Harvard had, both from an operational standpoint as well as from a full complement of trustees. So I am grateful and appreciative. Again, I've been following kind of the evolution of where you are, and it's been a remarkable change. So I appreciate the leadership and the efforts that you've done. Brian, Michael, questions for Amy? And we've been joined by Eric Hendricks, I apologize, our other member of the committee who serves District
3.
And introduce a little bit about yourself. District 3 comprised of?
Lake of the Hills, Algonquin, Lakewood, Crystal Lake.
Okay.
Your budget in Harvard?
About $1 million.
$1 million?
Yeah, I think it's a tad under, I think.
Okay, and I'm assuming that the majority of that's going to personnel right now?
A good chunk of it. We did have some apparatus issues that we have gotten actually also those kind of resolved for the time being.
Okay. And full-time, part-time?
Part-time.
Part-time, and how many part-time do you have?
I'm guessing, I'm gonna say around 20-ish, because I know that's one of the things we've been working on is cleaning up the roster.
And what do you mean by that?
We had a lot of people that are on the roster that actually weren't functioning or doing shifts at all.
Okay. So that's 20 that are functioning or 20 that some of those aren't still?
20 that are functioning.
Okay.
I think everybody now is off it is, you know, that was not picking up shifts.
And do a lot of your employees then come from other departments? They're
Yeah, a
serving
little,
part-time
yeah.
from other departments?
Or other jobs. A lot of their
Yes.
jobs actually aren't even in the fire service.
Okay.
Like one of them is a dispatcher, you know, so yeah, from a variety of backgrounds.
And you have an interim chief right now, is that individual planning on full-time or what is the?
He's part-time.
But
We're
I
gonna
mean,
wait
is she
and
going-
see. We're gonna, kind of what we're waiting to see is what happened with the referendum and then
Right.
we're gonna decide what we're gonna do moving forward.
But I mean, is he planning on staying in the leadership position and are you all planning on having him stay in that position?
That's the discussion for our next
Okay.
meeting. Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
really were
Understand.
literally waiting for the vote and then we were gonna discuss it again, you
Understand.
know, afterwards.
So the plan on the referendum is to proceed again out there?
I would assume so. We just had the vote, we haven't had a meeting, we have a meeting coming up here in another week, so,
All right.
yeah.
And that would be a year from now?
Yeah, I believe so, or I'm not sure if we can try again this fall. That's the part I'm not positive.
Legally, can they do it again that rapidly?
Be a pause.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think, yeah,
that's not-
yeah, right, I do.
Yeah, I wasn't
yeah.
sure what the time
Yeah,
frame
yeah.
was, yeah,
It's a year.
yeah.
And obviously, with regards to equipment and that type of thing, are you sharing equipment with other entities, other,
No,
okay?
Yeah.
You have your own equipment then, and what is the status of your equipment in terms of?
we have 2 ambulances, we did purchase a new one, I know last I heard it was still waiting to finish getting painted before that goes in service. We do have a newer used engine that we bought off Algonquin.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you participate in the state, or you look almost exclusively at used equipment right now?
Yeah, oh yes.
Okay, very good.
The ambulance was new, but yeah, everything else used.
Thank you. Exam.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
More questions. Who's your backup? What department is your backup? Primary
Well, it
backup?
really depends, Marengo, I would say is
Yeah,
probably our
that's what I
primary.
thought too.
Otherwise, it's like Hebron
Okay.
is another one, Capron, but not very often. We do have staffing backup if we have a medical too. We have a staffing contract with Northwest Rescue also if there's a hole in the schedule.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Michael, questions?
And how large of a population does the district cover?
It's actually a really big, as far as square mileage, it's about like 109, 110, something like that square mileage. Harvard is around 10,000 for population. But they do also cover like Alden Township and some areas north of Harvard and south. The square mileage is quite large.
I think with the rural, it's 16,000 total.
Is it 16,000
Yeah,
total?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Eric, any questions? Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Obviously, this is one of those situations that I believe there's 3 of you applying for 2 positions, so there will be some deliberation. You're welcome to stay if you'd like. Otherwise, we'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your years of service, and I mean that very sincerely. You've helped make a large difference.
Thank you, I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
absolutely. Thank you.
Yep.
Is Richard here?
Robert?
Robert? Oh, I'm sorry. Robert? Sorry, Robert, Richard.
No, it's all right.
You're now Richard
That's all right.
forever. Robert Lamz is also applying for the Harvard vacancy. You've heard us. Introduce yourself, let us know a little bit about yourself. And then, would this be a reappointment or is this
No,
new,
it's-
brand new? So maybe your vision of what you bring to the board and where you'd like to see the department go.
Sure. So my name is Robert Lamz. Been involved in local government since I was 19. Worked for a couple municipalities, putting long-term in at City of Woodstock before leaving as a fleet facility superintendent, but came through the ranks. Oh yes, Mayor Sager and I are very familiar. So, you know, I spent a little bit of time in Marengo, and now I'm working in the city of Harvard. But I had previously been with the fire department for about 3 years when I first moved to Harvard back in 07, 08. Spent some time there, was really a great rewarding job, and really enjoyed the people, the camaraderie, the duty. You know, you're called to duty in situations where somebody's having the worst moment of their life. So that was really rewarding, but ultimately my duties in Woodstock conflicted with my schedule. So I had to take more shifts, and there was an ask of me to take more shifts. So when it comes to snow plowing and being responsible for my primary job, I had to resign. I've always kind of been on the fringe. Do I dip a toe back in? Do I not dip a toe back in? And most recently, after being part of Harvard now, city of for the past year, there's more of an intrinsic knowledge of what's been going on and some of the struggles they've been having, and then just being involved. I still have friends that deal with the department or interact with the department, and you hear some of the challenges, and it's tough. We went from somewhere where when I was in the department, you could you'd hear the call and it would be like, Anson Lollipop racing to the station. And now it seems like it's very tough with staffing and, you know, change of quarters ambulances and things coming from, you know, an ambulance coming from Marengo or Hebron or, you know, Woodstock, where that just wasn't the case before. And it's tough. The equipment challenge is hearing that, you know, the city of, or not the city, but Harvard Fire District gave up the, you know, some really good equipment to get a piece of equipment that couldn't be used for 2 years because it was worn out, you know, and it was just kind of, it seems like there's been tumbling here and there, and, you know, things have been challenging for the past few years. So there was an opportunity I saw to be a part of the board and maybe help some of those decisions or help out where I can. You know, my specialty for government has always been fleet management and fleet operations. So being attuned to, you know, the equipment right now in Harvard, hearing some of the stuff that was talked about in open forums and podcasts and things, it sounds like there's a challenge presented, and, you know, that's a big hole to dig out of. And especially the referendum recently it was disheartening to see it go the way it did.
And I have to be quite frank, I'm well aware of past challenges that Harvard's been experiencing, and there's much room to continue to hit improvement. So very much appreciated of your interest to be part of that opportunity and growth. So thank you. Eric, any questions during the session? Michael?
So understanding the challenges that exist there, do you have any, are you going to walk in with any ideas of how to address those?
I mean, realistically, a lot of it just comes from education. And, you know, with the referendum especially, I felt like there was a dearth of information out there. There was outreach, but even among other residents of rural Harvard, there was not much that was explained. And I think when it came across, you know, the totals and things like that, what was to be expected of people, really turned people off, because, you know, after explaining, like, no, it's not a whole new thing, and they're just asking for this portion. The vast majority was, well, if I would have known that, then, you know, I would have voted in favor of it. But it sounded like they were asking for all of this in addition. So that was challenging, and just coming in with the equipment background and purchasing and vehicles and stuff. You know, hearing that Harvard had made a purchase of that Quint sight unseen from a very active department out east was kind of troubling, if that was really the truth. But especially because it hadn't been in service for a couple of years after purchase, and there was all this good usable equipment. And for Harvard not to have backup equipment, being such a rural fire department, it's tough. You know, if you're reliant on 1 or 2 pieces of equipment. When I was there was backups for backups, and, you know, everything was taken care of and well maintained, and, you know, there was equipment being cycled through, but, you know, there was always plenty of it. And, you know, in situations like when the train derailed in rural Lawrence, you know, to see every piece of equipment out, every staff being utilized, down to the point where it was just kind of like, you know, you ended up where people were hanging out of the station waiting for something to come back, you know, wondering what happened and sort of where the way has been lost, you know. And, you know, I worked with Chief Kimmel when I was down in Marengo, and also, you know, he was part of the training when I was EMTB and firefighter when we took the Firefighter 2 class. And the leadership and the organization that he's brought to Marengo, to have him up in Harvard is quite the asset. And, you know, I hope that can continue.
Thank you.
Right.
Rob, it's good to see you. Appreciate your interest. Thanks. I've always appreciated your service in the city of Woodstock, and sorry that you decided to move elsewhere, but at the same time, I understand that people move on, so that's great. And you certainly have a tremendous amount of strength in fleet management, and that is one of your major concerns here is in fleet management. It always comes down to dollars and cents, right? I mean, frankly, that's what the bottom line question is always going to be. So what would be your plan? I mean, to move forward and to address some of the concerns that you have just expressed in terms of not having backups for backups and you know, not having equipment that is necessarily spot on in terms of immediate usage, et cetera. What would your plan be in long-term basis?
So essentially what it would come down to is evaluating what equipment is there currently, and what serves a purpose, what doesn't serve a purpose. I was pleased to see that there's going to be the re-chassing of an ambulance, and sort of being more creative with it. It seems like the equipment's going in a good direction. Obviously, the referendum would be huge, but starting to put away that funding for replacements, because every year you got to be putting away a little bit of something to have it so that when you're ready to buy it, you're ready to pick it up. Unfortunately, a lot of governments, municipalities, districts have a drive till dead mentality. It's difficult because drive till dead means you're pouring money into a black hole, the vehicle that's not worth it, and at the end, it's unreliable, it's costly, and there's no value to it when you finally do get rid of it.
And so I'm trusting then that one of your contributions here would be to help protect against that drive till dead mentality, and to move to making sure that everything was maintained as you go along, and to certainly get the longest life that exists in a vehicle, but at the same time, making sure that you're not putting good money after bad. You were disappointed, as everybody was, with regards to the referendum that did not pass. We just heard from Amy. She's going to have a conversation with other trustee members about moving forward with that again in a year. What would you do to help promote that?
I think it seems so sudden, from even myself, who's familiar with local government. It almost popped up out of nowhere, and then it was like 2 weeks beforehand where it really started getting the fire beneath it, and it just seemed like there was a lot of people that just didn't understand. And the signs in the city were basically vote yes, or and they were in multiple languages, which was great, but there was really no explanation as to what it was. If there would have been more, I don't want to say boots on the ground, but more efforts to be public. But it's tough because I hear staffing challenges, and there was the open forum, but those things are just tough to get people to attend to, and you're really only going to see the people that don't want it to happen to attend those things, and you really need to be driving up everything else. It could have been as simple as flyers or more just interaction, and it was needed. It needed to happen. I'm really proud of the fact that the district made the attempt, but it just seemed like after explaining things to people when they would ask questions, even shop talk, it was just, well, I would have voted for it if that was the case, and there was, I think, Chief Kimmel he did a podcast where he basically says, I don't want to scare people, but hold your breath and drive to Marengo, or hold your breath and drive to Woodstock. How does that make you feel? In case if there's a staffing issue, or we need help.
Thank you, Rob.
I have the three of you here, and I'm going to lean over. The county appoints the individuals to that board that oversees the district. There are opportunities, referendums, we can't take positions, we can't tell people how to vote, but there are opportunities of better collaboration on providing information.
Sure.
On our website, directing people to other websites, highlighting podcasts, whatever that situation is, there are opportunities, and we had discussed this previously. We should be working together to do what's in the best interest of all of our constituents. So I, again, throw that out there, listen, and let's avail ourselves of that collaboration so that we can get that information out. People will choose to vote whichever way they choose, but at least we can sit back and say we gave them all the information that was needed to program. So, okay. Thank you very much. You can stick around. There'll be some deliberation, as you know, 2 openings, 3 people. So thank you very much, Richard, Robert. I do that with somebody else too. It's Kyle, Josh, whatever. Good morning, Joshua. You want to introduce yourself and let us know. You're seeking its reappointment, yes?
Yeah.
You're currently
Yep.
serving?
Yeah, for my third term. I'm Josh Kelnhofer. I'm from Harvard. Lived there for my whole life and been on the board 2 terms, and I thought I'd try to go for another one. Not that I'm greedy or anything, but I feel
Well, no,
like.
there's a lot of work that you guys have been
Yeah,
doing,
but we've
so there's
started on
some.
it, and I know nothing's perfect, but we're working within what we have, you know. And so I kind of feel like the work isn't done, so I have time to do it, and I'm glad to do it, so I'd like to go for another term.
Eric, any questions? Nothing about it? No? Michael, Brian, any questions? Brian, please.
With regards to the challenges that both Amy and Rob have talked about in terms of personnel part-time and perhaps having to kind of shape that up, what are your thoughts in terms of the core individuals that you have there and whether or not they're going to be able to stay and continue to serve on a part-time basis, or do you have a long-term desire, hope, plan that at some point you're going to be able to get some full-time people? Where do you think you are?
We have, the staff we have now we have a lot of good people, I think long-term people, and folks that have been there for 20 years already. Of course, hiring new staff is like anywhere. It's not just a Harvard issue. Doesn't matter if it's government or private sector, any business, you know. So we, of course, with the referendum, we'd like to have a full-time chief who can manage that better, but with Kimmel helping us out, he's done a lot more for getting out into the community, doing things at the high school, this and that, but it's just, the world's changed, you know? It's like Rob was saying, it used to be where people would come out of the woodwork and volunteers, and maybe it's something we've done that's changed that, but it seems like as I talk to other trustees, it's not just a Harvard issue. So just keep doing the best we can, get some kids in there. We do get new applicants, but it's not a list that used to be a mile long. I remember when I was 17, I applied to work at the district, but I mean, there was probably 200 kids that applied. So it's a changing world. We're all trying to adapt to it and figure things out in terms of that, but we do have a good, the people we have, I think, are long-term.
I'm going to say something that I'm probably going to be cast in a pretty bad light right now, so I apologize that. But I'm going to say it. I mean, how long can the district survive? I mean,
I think that's a valid question.
that's the bottom line question. How long can the district survive, or are you all going to have to, combine with another district? Right? I mean, you all have been talking about Marengo. Is it the type of thing where you all are sometime going to have to just?
You know, we've talked about it. There's an alliance of fire protection districts
right.
In Northern Illinois, and there's a yearly conference. And last winter, we had spoken with a couple districts. I forget where it was. I think it was Cook County. They had consolidated. It was a huge deal. So it's something we've talked about. I think it can. Of course, there's so many laws that you have to have a paramedic. You can't just say, oh, we're gonna have 2 people and get by. So we have to obey the laws too. But I think we had a $1 million donation to the district. Now, before I was on the board, we were going through that money big time. And we've got to the point now where we've got most of that back in savings. And yeah, we did have a kind of a disaster with that engine that we had bought, which is gone now, and we've got another one that we bought from Algonquin. And we've slowly put that reserve back. Of course, a lot of taxpayers, I've heard, they don't like that. Well, you may as well use that money. But I mean, it was a gift. So I'd like to think someday if we do need a new fire station or a big piece of equipment, I think we're pretty safe. Of course, we've increased our ambulance billing, which I hate passing that on to the people, but it's covered by health insurance. If somebody can't pay, we don't go after them if they don't have insurance. So our ambulance billing has really got up to pace with other communities. So yeah, I do feel long-term we can survive. We have a guy that is our deputy chief. We've talked to him about possibly becoming the chief, and if we hadn't get our referendum, we're gonna talk about that in the future. So, I mean, we might not have John forever, but we've talked to him about it. He doesn't mind coming here. I mean, it costs us money. We pay Marengo for his time. But he's doing great for us. And there's only so much we as trustees can do. We try to appoint a chief that we trust is gonna do the job, you know. Yeah, we have to oversee it. And when it comes to the referendum, it's just kind of sad that the trustees have no power over it.
Right.
You know, these are a lot of things I've learned coming onto the board, going to the continuing education. I mean, we're just like powerless. You know, we can't promote it. It's
Right.
That's one
Can't spend
law I
money.
just
Right.
can't make sense out of. So, yeah, I think things are on the right track, but it's not easy. It's still not easy, you know.
Last question, the fact that, you know, we are all prohibited as elected or appointed individuals from using funds or anything like that to promote referendums, et cetera, so that's kind of the nature of the beast. But
Yeah.
do you feel like there is a good support group out there in the community that you have or have started, such as Friends of the Fire Protection District or anything like that? Is there a group out there that you could go to help make sure that the next time you go out for referendum, it's gonna pass?
I definitely think we could do better, you know, in terms of having a breakfast at the firehouse or something like that. But it comes down again to how much time are people willing to give, you know? But if you look at the vote on that referendum, it wasn't a total,
It wasn't.
you know,
Yeah.
I wasn't close, but it wasn't 50-50.
Wasn't a
So yeah, I
blowout.
think we got a pretty good awareness. And yeah, the referendum was short, you know, in terms of getting it out there
Right.
before the election. But I know them guys worked on it pretty hard for a while. Kimmel's a great man. I really like that guy. And I wish there was something more we could do as trustees. But so yeah, I think I don't think it's totally lost cause, you know. So yeah, I think there's a good core of people.
You've made, as I said to Amy, you've made a tremendous change in a short
Yeah.
period of time. I mean, there's been a lot of work that's been done.
Exactly.
More to do, always
Yeah.
more to do,
It's
but,
been a lot of
but
stress,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah, you look at our income and, you know, it's a third of what Marengo is. You know, it's you make the best decisions you can. Sometimes they don't always work out, but I do feel our equipment is we're doing a lot better. We do have a newer tanker. We got rid of some equipment that just was never used. We had that big squad and the stuff wasn't worth much. So it's like, do you just keep it anyway? You pay the maintenance on it, what do you do? And listening to Rob, he's right, you know, there's a lot of things we can do different. But a few years ago, when we're trying to restore that money, you know, we just tried to do the best we could. We had that big ladder truck, that was great, you know, but it's sad. Kind of too big to go on, and I'm not a firefighter. I'm not a paramedic. I'm just a guy who serves on the board, lives in the community, so I don't know anything about it. But, you know, talking to the guys, you know, that thing was too big to go on a regular, you know, it's not something that was used all the time, so.
But you do have a good story to tell. I mean, the last few years, you've done remarkably good things. Yeah. It's a
I
good
would say,
story.
yeah, even in the 6 years as a whole, I mean, there's a lot of bumps, man. But, where we're at now and seems to be going the right way.
Well, we appreciate your service. Thank you very much for being here this morning.
Yeah, you bet.
And as you heard, we'll be doing deliberations. You're welcome to stay.
Sure, I think I will. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last interview this morning is Kevin Sarnowitz. Do you want to look outside and see if anybody's out there? No? And we're running a little late, so. He's also a reappointment, isn't he? He's long-term. I know Kevin. No? All right, seeing that Kevin's not here, we'll go right on to the next item on the agenda, which is the deliberations, obviously, for these appointments. The first one is for Fox River Grove. We had one vacancy, one applicant. Can I have a motion to reappoint Pat Hughes to the terms as stated? Mr. Shorten, seconded by Mr. Sager. I think we'll do a roll call, Kath, if that's okay.
Sager.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Altough.
Yes. All right, and the next is for the McHenry Township Fire Protection District. Again, yes, sir?
You have two members that are.
Do we?
They never joined.
They never, yeah, they're on there. They're just never joined.
Right.
And I talked to both of them,
Okay.
so.
Do you want to join them in and allow them to vote, or?
No, they're not on. Their names are up there, but they
Oh.
never joined. Got it?
Disregard,
I'm sorry. I apologize. And again, similar circumstance. We had 2 interviews, 2 vacancies. So I'll take a motion to appoint both Kurt and Mr. Miller to the McHenry Township Fire Protection. Thank you. Eric, seconded by Brian. Real quickly, Brian? Yes? Michael? Yes. Eric?
Yes.
Pamela, yes. Okay, congratulations. Very nice. Thank you. And the next,
Just take Crystal Lake first.
sure, but Crystal Lake, he didn't interview. He wasn't the one who wasn't here. Do we want to appoint him anyway? I will tell you real quickly, I have known him for as long as I have known many of these other people from McHenry. He's a great man. He's served for, I think, 15 plus years. I certainly don't think an interview is necessary. He's shown his capacities. So yes, if that's a motion, Brian, seconded by Mr. Shorten. Eric?
Yes.
Pam says yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, passes unanimously, thank you. All right, deliberation. Harvard is, I think, an excellent situation. We have 2 vacancies, 3 applicants. I think they're stellar applicants. I'll open it up for any kind of discussion. Mr. Sager.
Could we have the 3 of them up here to just ask a couple more questions? Would that be okay?
Of course. Can I ask the 3 of you to come up here, please?
First off, I appreciate the fact that we have 3 people.
I do too. I
So thank you
am
very
delighted.
much. And, you know, somebody's gonna walk away disappointed today, and I apologize for that, but that's going to be the circumstance, as you all kind of understand. We have two individuals who have some tenure on the board, and we have a new individual in Rob who's interested for valid reasons, I think. My question is, how many members are on your trustees? Five. And what's the tenure right now of those individuals?
Well, I've been 6 years.
You're for your third term,
Yeah,
Amy.
our treasurer has served, I think, 5. She's in the middle of her second term. Amy's done 1.
Not even a full one.
Oh, right, you were
Yeah,
appointed.
me- Yeah, me
You were
and
appointed.
Scott also started at the same time I did.
Right, was also
Yeah.
appointed.
Paul Hildreth, he's our other trustee
Yeah.
who's in his first term.
Okay, so it's all a relatively new bunch except for you, really.
Yeah, I've served the longest on the board.
Is that right? And who's the presiding officer of that? then?
Scott Logan is the president of the board. I was the president last year because our president had resigned. So I just kind of stood in as interim. And so Scott Logan, who's in his first term, he's the president. And he's got good experience. He's on the city council of Harvard. And Laura Evers is our trustee, who's very good. I mean, she is a heck of a treasurer.
Okay, great, thank you. With regards to the employees, all part-time individuals, can you just give me a sense of what, I mean, you're giving me an opinion, so I know it's an opinion, I'm just looking for your sense. What do you think the, I guess, the feelings, the attitudes of the part-time individuals are right now with regards to the department?
They feel the department is headed in the correct direction.
In fact, we just had officer testing applications, which doesn't happen often, and there was quite a few applicants, and they all did really good, and so that shows these people are committed. I mean, there was probably 8 or 10 of our members that had applied to become officers out of, how many do we have, 35, 40 people total?
I thought 20, I wasn't sure
Or
what our
maybe it's
last
in the
roster.
20s, yeah, 26, I want to say stands out, so, yeah, I honestly feel what we have is, like I said before, a lot of committed people. And the officers we have now already are long-term.
Okay, and do you feel like right now it's a relatively stable group of individuals, the 20 individuals that you indicated? Amy, you think that those 20 individuals are pretty attuned right now and focused on staying where they are? Continue to work, they're not ones that are just itching to get out.
Yeah, right. No, I think that is the great thing. After we kind of, cleaned the roster up, got rid of people that weren't really picking up shifts, so we knew who we really had working. Everybody that's there now is very committed to the department.
And we have people that do travel, like Rob says. You have, in this day and age, there's people traveling from an hour away. But the really active people we have live right in the community. So, and 2 of them live right up the street.
Are the individuals that are currently the trustees, are you anticipating that they would be seeking reappointment?
The other trustees? Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Paul's retired. I would imagine it's something he'd like to continue. And he's got government background. Scott has some. Laura's our treasurer. She's owns a business in Harvard. So we kind of got a good mix of people who have a background in the fire service and some people that aren't, which I think is a good balance on a public board.
I'm going to jump in and look at all of you too, and I'm going to say something bad, so I'm right there with you. these are the kinds of circumstances that we beg for, is to have people who are interested in serving and elevate that. And on the other hand, it's difficult because there are people who you want some continuity, you want that historical perspective, you want that experience. But we also need to always make room for kind of that churn a little bit. Otherwise,
I agree.
people come back, right, I know, people come back and you have an interview and we go, no, none
And
for
I
you
kind of
today.
thought about letting it go, but since we're in the middle of trying to find a chief and the referendum thing, I kind of thought I'd want to stay on. But I totally agree to, you know, you need different perspectives and new people.
I just want to throw that out there, certainly not pointed at anybody in particular, but we need to be very cognizant of that as we move forward. And again, I keep saying it, I know, been there, done that, saw what you did and the problems you had. I adore the fact that you've got the experience that you have with fleet management and would bring that perspective in there. So regardless of kind of where this discussion goes, I would beg whoever isn't successful, remain engaged at some level. That referendum needs to happen, right? I mean, you need to do that for the better serving of your people. So if there's opportunities to do that, I strongly urge you to keep the peeps that have shown any interest in service at all. Right.
I'm going to throw something out here that may be totally inappropriate, and so you can tell me it's totally inappropriate, and that's fine.
Probably I'm going to look at Peter, so.
Yeah, Peter, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So
You're in a mood this morning.
I am. I'm a little feisty. You have a relatively new tenured board as it is right now, right? And you're all kind of moving things forward in the right direction. I see a hole, and I'm going to be blunt about it. I see a hole in terms of this knowledge that I think Rob brings to the table in terms of fleet management. He has a vast experience in that. And so, you know, those types of decisions are tough decisions because we all know that they are capital investments, right? And so they're really tough situations. So here's the out-of-the-box type, and I hate that term, I don't even know why I used it, but anyway, it's the type of the out-of-the-box thinking. But what about us appointing an ex officio person that is there to assist with those types of things? And as you kind of look down the road to others maybe moving off, we have a person there that has gained some experience, and I mean, they're not paid positions, right? I mean, what about that opportunity?
I said, you know, here we go again. The opportunity always exists. Mine would be I think we have a job to appoint and ensure that those individuals are being taken care of and it's being done appropriately. You just now made it 6, and that's uneven, or it would be ex officio, you wouldn't have a vote. Never mind, I'm rolling that back, sorry. We certainly could do that. You know,
And I think
I don't want the board to feel that we're sticking our nose in inappropriately though either.
Well, and
Because
the trustees, we do get paid a small amount, so we do get a little bit.
Okay, well, this would be an ex officio that wouldn't be getting paid.
Yeah.
So, sorry to say that.
We
but
can,
But I mean, we're always open to,
I was gonna say, we certainly could make a recommendation.
That's my thought.
We make the appointment and then make a recommendation. And I would be more than happy to attend a board meeting and explain why we did what we did and take it off of your shoulders and see where that went.
I mean, honestly, I like the idea, honestly. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so is that a motion, Mr. Sire?
It is a motion. And my motion would be that we reappoint those who are seeking reappointment. And then and I don't know, I should ask Rob if he's interested in that, but I think that would help to get a foot in the door, if you will, in terms of experience and background. And certainly you could lend your expertise to a hugely important area in terms of the district operations.
Sure.
Is there a second to that motion? Mr. Shorten? Going around the table. Mr.
Yes.
Sire? Mr.
Yes.
Shorten? Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Chair, what is my name? Chair Altoff says yes. So that will be the recommendation that we take to the full county board for consideration and voting on. Okay? So thank you very much. I also, will sit here across from you and offer my personal assistance with any future referendum stuff that you guys think about and about how to engage and inform and get that out. We just successfully did the mental health referendum. So seriously, anything that we can do, let us know. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, moving rapidly along. Legislative update. You all did receive your written report, which is appreciated. Thank you very much. Good morning, Ms. Daigle. How are you?
Hopefully you don't mind me sitting up here.
No, God, no, of course.
I need her support.
Yes, legislative report, compound, yeah, absolutely. So,
All right.
let me see.
So legislative report, what you guys need to know. So I did email you my report over the weekend.
Yep.
And first things you need to know, deadlines. As Pam always says, deadlines are fluid, and deadlines are made to be broken. No, just kidding.
They are, always.
But things for you to keep in mind, April 5th is the deadline for bills to leave committee in the House, and April 19th and April 12th are the third reading deadlines for the House and Senate, respectively. So just keeping that in mind as you look at some of the bills that are coming out. Federal legislation items. So we had some really good news in the past month. We received $4.116 million for the Randall Road Improvement Project from Congresswoman Chakowski's office. That was included in the federal appropriations bill. We also received $850,000 from Congressman Foster's office out of the federal appropriations bill as well for the Woodstock Railroad or Rail Yard Improvement Project, as well as an additional $1 million for the electrification of paratransit buses in McHenry County as well. So
I was just saying, that we're kind of up to speed on. Why don't you tell them what happened with Representative Ness's bill on the social work program?
okay.
That she presented it?
On
Yeah.
Friday.
Right, on
All right,
Friday.
so on Friday, the Police and Fire Committee met at the Illinois General Assembly. Representative Ness did advocate for McHenry County very well. She got it passed through committee, and for those of you who might not know, the co-responder bill makes it so that the McHenry County Sheriff's Office can be added in to a bill that had a $10 million appropriation to different police social work programs that haven't yet been created across the state. Ours has, though. And she got 2 additional co-sponsors right there on the board and 5 additional ones thereafter. So she is gaining momentum on that bill. And yes, it has passed deadlines. Also of note, Senator DeWitt is marshaling support across the Republican caucus for a bill to, yes, eliminate the use tax on groceries, the grocery sales tax, that's 1% that was proposed in the governor's budget. However, he wants to backfill it with financing from the state and have it distributed through the local government distributed fund, instead of just leaving the local governments high and dry without the funds to support their services. So he has gotten 19 out of 19 Republican senators on board with that. Doesn't appear that it's bipartisan yet. That is one of 3 options, and this is where Shailen's going to have to help me here. This is one of 3 options that's being considered right now at the General Assembly for how to handle the whole 1% sales tax to municipalities that the governor has proposed to cut.
For groceries.
Right, for groceries.
Do you want to?
Yeah, the first option is to not cut it at all, for it to remain in place.
Which is the preference,
Is
right?
obviously
Yeah.
the preference. And from what we're hearing from the Illinois Municipal League and others in Springfield is that the leaders don't really want to deal with the grocery tax this year. And so they're we're encouraging our legislators to reach out to their leaders and ask them not to touch the grocery tax. The second option is, as Alicia mentioned, was to backfill it. That actually is the least popular option, even though that would make communities whole. It, every year we'd be fighting for that money and it would be on the table
Right.
every year.
Right.
The third option is to allow municipalities to implement their own tax, home rule or non-home rule. It would give them the abilities to do that. In turn, that would make the municipalities kind of the bad guy in the situation, which isn't favorable among municipalities at this time. So there is a meeting at 10:30 today to kind of go over some more options to work with the General Assembly. So,
Mr. Seibert?
Clarification, with regards to option number 3, they're allowing municipalities, that's municipalities of all population levels, right?
Correct.
It's not only homeowners, so it's everybody. But the second thing is that they don't have to go out for referendum, correct? So they have the opportunity to enact a sales tax regardless. Is there any talk or any concern, anything like that, that this might be setting up municipalities for other opportunities to do this in the future so that they can backfill monies that are being absorbed by the state?
that might be something that's going to be discussed today, of putting more tools in their toolbox should this grocery tax be eliminated.
And I'm going to think that that is the pivotal question, is whether that's an option ultimately, as again demands on local government, units of government are higher and higher to provide the same services or higher services depending upon what has transpired to elevate those services. The question is referendum. You have the ability to currently now do it via referendum. The gift would be is to be able to have a public hearing and go forward and let the representatives of that community make those decisions. So I concur.
I mean, I think we can look across the board, all the things that have been done by the state, not the least of which is the LGDF funds. So do we eventually get the opportunity to kind of reclaim those LGDF funds through another option of this nature, or the costs that are associated with distribution of our funds from the state because they're taking out a portion of that, you know, as service fee? I mean, that's an endless question, I think, and so it's kind of a dangerous area to go into, if you will, but it's interesting, very interesting.
Well, there's an effort, obviously, by some to create a narrative of this is what we're doing for the people and we're reducing your overall expenses, but we miss the amount of unfunded mandates that are also along a parallel track, which puts more responsibility on units of local government to meet those mandates with no additional funds and losing revenue as we go along. It's a real imbalance that we need to talk about probably louder and more frequently than we currently do. So, but thank you for the report.
There's one other item that is of significance. Community funding projects for 2025 are going to be coming out in the very near future. I am working closely with the Sheriff's Office and with the Division of Transportation to put forward some requests for funding projects going forward. One of them is for the Police Social Work Program headquarters, as is in the legislative program. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware. We are also looking at different grant opportunities as well through the Department of Justice. We were told when we went to Washington that that was something we had to do. We had to make sure that we were looking at grant opportunities so that when we apply for community funding, you know, we can say that we have, you know, vetted other opportunities and make sure that this is the best course of action. So we are.
And why wouldn't we take advantage of that? What would be the one reason why we would decide not to follow that grant opportunity?
Well, there's a couple.
Okay.
The first reason in my mind is staff resources. Federal grants are very, very technical, and we do not have that kind of specialty right here in the county.
And time consuming, it's a huge time crunch for staff.
And, you know, you're allocating a lot of your staff resources to fulfilling grant conditions. The second reason is sometimes the grants aren't necessarily lined up with what your project is about. So you might be jumping through a whole bunch of hoops just to be eligible for funding when that's not where you wanted to go in the first place, or that's not what you had in mind in the first place, and it may not necessarily fit what you're trying to do.
And so we'll try and keep you all apprised as we move forward so that you're armed with that information. So if somebody says to you, why didn't you do this? You have that answer. Is that the cost to administer the grant is substantially more, and if we're not getting money in that grant to reimburse staff, it almost is ridiculous for us to attempt to apply. So just, again, want you to be aware of the balance, because sometimes it sounds easier than it is. So I appreciate that, Alicia. Thank you very much. Anything else that we need to know that's going on?
Well, there's many different bills that I'm tracking right now, so again, if there's any topics of interest, always feel free to reach out to me. Again, I try to keep it to the high level stuff that you care about, probably most your funding issues, your wind and solar bills, and just in general, the police social work program and where we are with the federal legislature. Again, this is the tip of the iceberg of what I am tracking as far as bills go. If you ever want to see more, if you have any other ideas, please let me know.
And County Government Day is April 10th, and we'll be going down and spending a day and talking to some of our legislators and getting some legislative updates from that.
Him and Alicia on the 10th, Chairman Bueller and Shailen on the 17th.
Mm-hmm. And they're going for IML Day.
Right.
Yeah. So we are standing shoulder to shoulder with our municipal and county partners.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, moving along. Thank you again very much. Routine consent agenda. Does anybody want anything pulled from the consent agenda? I will note that we do have our coroner in the audience with his, what would I say? Your consultants. With your consultants. If anybody has any questions there, just for further clarification. But if not, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Mr. Hendrick, seconded by Mr. Shorten. It's money, so Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Pam Altoff, yes. Mr.
Yes.
Shorten? Mr. Sager?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Consent agenda done. See, you sat there that long and it was positive, all those vibes that were coming across. We have no presentations. Do we have any old business? I don't believe so.
We moved back up to 2.
Oh, did I miss what?
2, 3,
Minutes
and
approval.
4.
Oh, right, because we were there. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Mr. Hendrick, seconded by Mr. Shorten. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Kathy. I apologize. And we have no reports. Peter, nothing, right? No reports. So can I take a motion to adjourn? Mr. Hendricks, seconded by Mr. Sager. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.